Pilgrims Progress. I saw next in my dream that they sat talking in this manner till supper was announced. So when all had washed and made ready, they sat down to dine. The table was furnished with fine things to eat and drink, all freely provided by the Lord of the Hill for the refreshment of pilgrims. Now, their conversation at the table was chiefly about that Lord of the Hill and the great exploits he had done. As I listened to their talk about him, I concluded that he had been nothing short of a great and mighty warrior. They spoke of how he had laid aside his glory and his royal robes and come down in the garb of a common man to do battle on our behalf. How he had engaged the Prince of Darkness in mortal combat all alone, at the risk of defeat and eternal loss. How, by faith in the word and by the shedding of his own blood, he had gained the victory over he who had the power of death. Oh, how the telling of those brave and selfless exploits filled my heart with more admiration and love than I knew it could hold. And what makes the tale all the more glorious is that he did everything voluntarily, purely out of love to this country wherein we humans dwell. Then, as they came to an end of discussing their hero, Christian's heart seemed ready to burst with admiration, and he exclaimed, "Ah, what mighty love is this, that the Prince of Peace would lay down his glory that he might bestow it upon poor burdened sinners such as we." Then Charity added, "And he has sworn that he will not rest satisfied to dwell in Mount Zion alone, but that he will take all mankind who were born as beggars upon a dunghill and make us into princes and princesses fit to sit with him upon his throne." Thus they discoursed together far into the evening. After they had committed themselves to their Lord for protection, they went to their rest. The pilgrim they laid in a large upper room, whose window opened toward the sun rising. The name of this suite was Peace, and there he slept peacefully till the break of day, when the warmth of dappled sunlight on his face and the soft cooing of doves gently awakened him. So he sat up and could not at first remember where he was. Then said he, "Ah, where am I? Have I come to heaven? Is all of this a dream? Ah, yes, now I remember. This place is to show forth the love and care of Jesus for those that are pilgrims. Here I can gather a small foretaste of the glories of heaven, although for me, heaven first began when my burden fell free." So they had him down for breakfast, and after prayers and some more discourse, told him that he should not depart thence till they had shown him some of the rare possessions of that place. First they took him into the study, where they showed him records of the greatest antiquity. Here they showed him the pedigree of the Lord of the Hill, which proved to him to be the son of the Ancient of Days from the years of eternity. Here also were recorded more fully many of his brave deeds on our behalf. Then was Christian seized with deepest admiration for his hero and said, "My, these acts of the Lord of the Hill." "Yes," asked Charity, "they are so very brave. He is such a great warrior." "Yes," said Charity proudly, "and such a warrior will he make of thee." "Of me? Oh no, I am but a common man." Then said Charity solemnly, "Do not say, 'I am but a common man.' Were not the disciples of our Lord the same?" "Yes, and what did he make of them?" "Great warriors. Dear Christian," she continued, "in the common walks of life there is many a man patiently treading the round of daily toil, unconscious that he possesses powers that, if called into action, would raise him to an equality with the world's most honored men, such as the fisher folk of the Galilee. Aye, and such a man as that are you," she continued. "All that is indeed is the touch of a skillful hand to arouse your dormant faculties. And I'll warrant you, good sir, that if you continue on as you have begun, your name will one day ride upon the tongue of thousands." At this, Christian was silent for lack of an answer. He dared not contradict the dear damsel, who seemed to speak as a prophetess, yet neither did he dare to imagine that her words could ever come to pass. Therefore it was that he answered not a word. After this they showed him the names of many hundreds that his Lord had taken into his service, and how he had reserved for them mansions of glory that neither time nor trial could ever take away. Then said Christian, having been thoughtfully silent for some time, "As I look upon the records of these ancient men, it brings me to a conclusion." "Being?" questioned Charity. "That if he can take ordinary fellows, as these men were, and make of them great ones for eternity, why then, you are correct. He can do the same for me. 'Tis his great pleasure, said Charity, smiling broadly. Then she took him by the hand and said, Come into the library and look at the great deeds of some of them. So they read to him an account of the worthy acts that some of his servants had done, such as how they had subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of the lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, and turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Then Christian began to be inspired to do as they had done and exclaimed, Oh, such heroes! Oh, that I knew the secret of their strength, that I might be a warrior such as these. To this Charity only smiled and said, Their secret thou shalt know soon enough, but for now, come. So they took him into the armory, where they showed him all the weapons which the Lord had provided for pilgrims. There was a sword sharp and two-edged, shields, helmets, breastplates, all prayer, and shoes that would not wear out. Say, exclaimed Christian, I have seen these weapons before. This sword and its armor are exactly like the ones used by yonder stout fellow to hack his way into the beautiful castle. Aye, they are of the same quality and made by the same smith. My, he said as he admired their beauty, I think that if I could use such weapons as these, I too could hack my way through any danger. Then Prudence answered, If such is your true desire, you may. Oh, no, he answered meekly, not I. Such armor as this must cost a king's ransom. Why, look at the fine workmanship. But of course, said Charity proudly, it was beaten out on the anvil of heaven by he who wove your garment. What? Cried Christian in surprise. Is the weaver of the hill also a smith? Aye, said Piety, and a shepherd, and a mighty general, added Prudence, and a poet, put in Charity, and a composer of fine symphonies, concluded Piety. Then Charity pointed to an exceptionally fine suit of armor and said, Would you like to wear some of his armor? Oh, I am but a common man, said he. I could never afford the fine outfitting of dukes and princes. Neither could you ever afford your fine wedding garments, said Charity. They both come in exchange for a willing heart, without money and without price. Really? Exclaimed Christian in amazement. Then yes, I would like to wear it. So you shall, exclaimed Charity triumphantly. But first we would show you something yet more. Come. So they led him into the museum, where they showed him some of the instruments by which some of his servants had done wonderful things. They came to a rod that had leaves and blossoms, buds and almonds on it. Then Prudence announced, Here be Moses' rod. The one he used to part the sea and open a river in the desert, exclaimed Christian. Yes, said Prudence, but it has a name carved into its side. Aaron, it says. Is this also Aaron's rod that budded? Yes, the same, said Charity. 'Twas given him by his younger brother, and here are the mallet and nail with which Jael slew Sisera. Ah, brave woman she, said Christian as he looked upon those odd instruments of war. Then Piety said, Here are the trumpets and the lamps and pieces of pitchers wherewith Gideon put to flight the armies of Midian. Oh my, said Christian in amazement, and not a sword among the lot. Aye, said Prudence, rehearsing her lesson, because they did depend on the word of God to do what it had promised that it would, namely, to fight for them on that night. And what is this? Asked Christian, picking up a stout stick with an iron point. 'Tis the ox's goad, wherewith Shamgar slew 600 men, answered Charity. Then Piety picked up a whitened jawbone and said, And here's the jawbone of an ass. I know, interrupted the pilgrim. This is the weapon wherewith Samson slew 1,000 Philistines. Yes, she replied, smiling at his youthful eagerness. And here, 'tis a shepherd's sling, he exclaimed. No doubt the one with which David slew Goliath of Gath. Right again, said Charity. And here, a sword, blurted out Christian while reaching out to test the sharpness of its point. Mightier and ouch! Ooh, sharper than all the others. Is it Goliath's? No, answered Piety, smiling as she handed him a small bandage for his pricked finger. This is the sword with which our Lord will slay the man of sin in the day that Michael shall rise up. Oh, he said, and may that day come soon. They also showed him many other famous relics, both ancient and modern. Then they opened to him prophecies and predictions of things that must shortly come to pass. These forecasts bring dread and amazement to enemies that plot our destruction, but great solace and comfort to pilgrims. With all of these wondrous things, Christian was greatly delighted and said, "These things you have shown me give me great courage and hope, but they also make me eager to be on my way. Is it time for me to press on yet?" Then Charity answered, saying, "Almost. Let us show you but 2 things more." Being? "'Tis an especially clear day, and you can see with your own eyes the delectable mountains." "Verily, where?" "Look to the south. Do you see yonder pleasant mountains?" Looking as directed, he saw a great distance, a most pleasant mountainous country. It was beautiful with woods, vineyards, fruits of all sorts, flowers, springs, and fountains, all very wondrous to behold. "Ah, how I yearn to be there," he said longingly. "What is the name of this lovely country?" "'Tis called Emmanuel's land," responded Charity, "and just as surely as you have come to this hill, so shall you come to that." "I long to be there now," he said wistfully. "How much longer?" Then answered Charity with a twinkle in her eyes, "Longer than you wish, sooner than you think." "Ah," sighed Christian, "as always." "But take heart," encouraged Prudence, "for once you attain that place, you will be close enough to see the very gates of the city." "Truly," he exclaimed in amazement, "that close?" "Verily," affirmed Charity. "There you will find shepherds who will show you where to look and aid your vision by lending you their spyglass." "Oh, now I am even more eager to be off," he said impatiently. "Is it time to go?" "It will be after we do one thing more," said Prudence. "What thing?" "Why, 'tis time to put on thine armor," she answered with a smile, a curtsy, and a graceful sweep of her arm towards the armory. "Oh, something I am most eager to do. Lead the way." So they took him again into the armory, and there they harnessed him from top to toe with armor. Fine armor that was time-tested and well broken in by those who had gone before. This armor would save him both from combat and in combat. It would save him from combat by frightening off many of those amateur villains who lurk alongside the Pilgrim's Way, even to this day. But should he chance to close with some powerful foe who knew no fear, it would protect his vitals and so save him in combat. Then, being fully harnessed, he walked out with his friends to the gate. On his walk thence, he was amazed to find that his armor fit him as closely as if the smith had fashioned it just for him, which I secretly suspect he did. At the gate they committed him to their Lord in prayer, and all bade him a fond farewell with tears in many an eye. "Farewell, good friend," said Christian. "God bless you one and all." "God-speed, good Christian," said Watchful. "Remember the things that have been shown thee." "I shall. Farewell, dear Watchful. You and your house have treated me as if I were royalty." "Because thou art." "Royalty? I?" "Oh, yes," he said firmly. "Thou art now part of our peculiar people, a holy nation, a royal priesthood. He hath made us to be kings and priests unto God and his Father forever. Therefore, God speed thee, dear Christian, son of the King." These words and those that had gone before awakened within Christian the realization that the path he had chosen was more than just a simple journey from a vile land to a better. He now began to realize that he was also enrolled in a school which would render him a fit citizen of eternity. Yea, more than that, he was in training to become a prince worthy to serve under the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. This sacred realization brought him resolve to his heart and a joyful tear to his eye. After a few moments of silence, he was at last able to ask the porter, "Have you seen any other pilgrims pass by during your last watch?" "Oh, yes, one whose name was Faithful." "Faithful, I know him, for he is my townsman, my dear neighbor." "How far ahead do you think he may be?" "Oh, I suppose by this time he must surely be down the hill and well into the valley of humility. Well, I must hurry after him. It may be that we can travel on together. The Lord be with thee, dear watchful. May he greatly increase your blessings for all the kindness you have shown me. Then, eager to be on his way, and also to catch up to Faithful, he pressed forward. But knowing of the hidden dangers on the way to humility, Prudence, Piety, and Charity offered to accompany him down to the foot of the hill. And so down the hill they went, all the while repeating their former lessons as they went down. And as they went down, Christian found for himself that the path into humility was not at all so easy as he had expected, as you will learn should you ever decide to bravely follow in his footsteps. Then, said Christian after a near slip or two, "My, 'tis a steepish hill that leads down the backside of difficulty. This climb down into humility seems to replace difficulty with danger." "Yes," said Prudence, "so it is. 'Tis a very rare matter for a man to descend into the valley of humiliation without a nasty fall or two." "I can see why," he said, choosing his steps as wisely as he was able. "'Tis so steep and slippery and— Oops! Oh, help! I've got you," said Prudence, seizing his arm to steady his steps. Then Charity took his other arm and cautioned, "Careful now, dear Christian. Choose well each step." Then said Christian gratefully, I am certainly glad for your company, dear ladies. I didn't know but that I might have been severely injured without you." "That is why Piety, Charity, and I have come with thee," said Prudence as she helped him over another slippery spot. "Aye," added Piety, "for without us you would surely suffer many a slip on the way down." And so down he went, but that very warily. Yet even so he grew a bit careless and did slip a time or two. "Uh-oh," he cried out several times as he felt his feet sliding on the shale or slipping on slimy green moss. Many a time Charity would say, "Careful now," and Prudence would add, "I've got you. Here, hold fast to my arm." Then I saw in my dream that these fair maidens finally got Christian safely to the bottom of the hill. There they gave him a loaf of bread, a bottle of wine, squeezed that very morning, and a cluster of fine raisins. Christian bowed in gratitude and resolutely turned to pursue his journey. But behold, standing in his path was Charity, who reverently held up before Christian a small, shiny key hung upon a golden chain. Upon seeing it, Christian was puzzled and asked, "Why, what key is this, dear Charity?" "This is the secret of their strength." "Of whose strength?" he inquired, his focus fixed firmly on the gently swinging key. "Why, the strength of those who subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, and stopped the mouths of lions. This is the key of promise, and by its power common men have quenched the violence of fire, wrought escape from the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, and turned to flight the armies of the aliens. This little key has done all of that." He asked in respectful awe. "Aye," said she, "and when you come to your darkest hour, you may use this key to work any miracle that God has authorized in his word." "Indeed? Any miracle? Any miracle at all?" "Yea, verily, and much more besides. Indeed, any promise to be found in the word may be applied to your life, as others have done before you. Simply depend on that word to do. What it has promised, it will do. And there is no power on earth or in hell that can stop you from carrying out God's will." "Then would you please place it round my neck, dear Charity," said Christian, removing his helmet and setting it on his knee as he bowed reverently before the fair damsel. "I would wear it in my bosom next to my heart." So she ceremoniously placed the golden key around his neck, saying, "Go forth conquering and to conquer, dear Christian, for all power in heaven and on earth is at thy command. Only believe in the promises of God, and thou shalt triumph gloriously." "Thank you, dear Charity," said Christian, brushing a tear from his eye as he rose to his feet. "Thank you very, very much. I shall count this key among my greatest treasures. Farewell." After the noble damsels had once again wished him God's blessings, Christian addressed himself to his journey. But they, reluctant to part company with such a noble warrior, stood still in that place and watched until long after he had disappeared from view down the peaceful paths of humility. "God speed thee, dear Christian," whispered Charity softly. And forget not thy key, added Prudence. Forget not thy key. And we'll see you next time.